Hello guys, welcome to another tutorial here at Code Essentials KE. In this tutorial, I'll be taking you through HTML5 Geolocation API. The Geolocation API is used to locate a user's position, and it uses the GPS. This is a global positioning system. So it basically gives the geographical position of a user, and it returns to us latitude and longitude in real time. So we are going to implement this one in HTML, and we are also going to use a bit of JavaScript so that we can interact with the browser and retrieve the latitude and longitude, right? So in my file, I'm going to create a HTML file. I'm assuming that you have opened your VS Code and are connected to a folder. Mine is this one, center div. That is my folder. I'm going to create a file. I'm going to call it locate or location.html, right? That is how we create a HTML file. I'm going to type HTML, which is a HTML5 boilerplate, the last one. This one generates you a startup code. I'm going to delete these unwanted lines. I'm not going to delete the script because you are going to use JavaScript, and this line says script source. The source will be the source for the JavaScript file. Async defer means that we are first telling the browser to load the body contents, then it will load the JavaScript later. That is what the async means, right? So I'm going to use h1. I'm going to say how to use HTML5 geolocation API, right? Maybe to get user location, right? That is my h1. That is basically I'll tell you what we are going to do. I'm going to use a button. This is a button that we are going to use in JavaScript so that we can assign it the functionality of retrieving the location. I'm going to give it a on click event that is going to be get location, right? This is a function. We are going to define that function in JavaScript shortly. I'm going to close the button and I'm going to say click this button to also. I'm going to say, let me just say get location, right? So this is the value of the button. I'm also going to use a paragraph tag, which is basically going to be where we are going to append the values. Paragraph. I'm going to give it an ID. ID is going to be demo, right? Now I'm also going to create the JavaScript file that we are going to link, and I'm also going to create a CSS file that we are going to style our elements. First of all, I have to give a div with a class of centered, because we are going to center these elements in the browser, right? So I'm going to tab this over so that we can format it well. Now I'm going to come here. I'm going to create a location.js. That is how you create a JavaScript file. I'm going to click enter, and I'm also going to create locate.css, right? This is a cascading style sheet file. This is where we are going to define our styles, right? Now I'm going to come to our main HTML. In the link style sheet, I'm going to give the locate.css, right? That is where our CSS file goes. Then at the bottom, script source, I'm going to give it locate.js because it is a script, which means it is a JavaScript file, right? So first of all, I'm going to style I'm going to style using CSS. I'm going to come here at CSS. I'm going to style the class with the centered. I'm going to give it a display of flex. I'm going to say margin is going to be auto. I'm going to say flex direction will be column, so that they can be arranged from top to bottom. I'm also going to say align items to center, and I'm also going to justify content. I'm going to give it center, right? We have not yet defined our JavaScript. I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to open with live server. Live server is a marketplace extension that will help you to reload your file on the browser without going to the browser and reloading each time that you save your file. So I save my file and open with live server, right? As you can see, we have our h1, which says how to use HTML5 geolocation API to get user location, and we also have the button. It doesn't do anything with the value of get location, right? I'm going back to my HTML file. Now I'm going to define the JavaScript. We are going to locate.js. This will be location, right? .js, right? So we come here. I'm going to define a variable. I'm going to say variable. This is our. I'm going to give it a value of x will be document dot get element by id. The reason I've said the get element by id is because when you come back to our HTML, you can see I gave the paragraph id of demo. So if you give an id, you're going to use a get element by id in JavaScript. I'm going to say demo, then I'm going to close it, right? This one will hold the value of the paragraph that you are going to append the location after we retrieve it with JavaScript, right? So I'm going to define a function which will be get location. This is a function that we wrote in the button. This is a get location, right? I'm going to open it. I'm going to say if navigator dot geolocation. So this line says that if we have the functionality, the navigator is a browser or the machine. If the machine or the browser supports the geolocation feature, then we can continue. Then I'm going to say else. If it does not support, instead of showing an error, I'm going to say x dot inner HTML is equals to geolocation feature is not supported in this browser, right? So this says that if the browser does not support this feature, we are going to output this to the user. Now this is where the code goes. If the browser supports geolocation, that is a HTML5 geolocation API. Now I'm going to say navigator dot geolocation, the second one, dot get current position. This one will get the current position of the user, right? And I'm also going to pass a show position function as a parameter, right? We are going to define this function show position. This one will be the one that is going to retrieve the location from the geolocation. This one that we have defined from navigator.geolocation. So I'm coming out of this function and I'm going to say now function going to paste show position, and it takes a position, right? Takes a position parameter. I'm going to open it. I'm going to say x dot inner HTML. Now that the geolocation feature is supported, we are going to now start appending the location in the browser. I'm going to say is equals to latitude. This is the latitude that has been obtained. Latitude will be position dot coordinates dot latitude, right? I'm going to close it. No, I'm not going to close it. I'm going to put a plus sign, then I'm going to put a break line, and I'm going to say longitude. The longitude will be going to add now the position dot coordinates dot longitude, right? So that's all. So this is a function that we have passed in the get current position, which takes a position, and as you can see, our show position function also takes a position as an argument, right? So this is a position that we are going to use to retrieve from the object that will be returned by navigator.geolocation. This one returns a location object. So we are currently we just want the position, right? So this is a one we are going to use from the object to obtain the latitude and longitude, right? So I think that's all. Now I'm going to locate.html. This going to save. Now go back to my browser, right? I'm going to click on get location. As you can see, the browser asks me this URL, which is our current URL that we are loading the file, location.html, wants to know your location. So if I block, it's not going to allow the location, right? If I click again, you can see it's not going to allow. So I'm going to come here. You can see it says this site has been blocked from accessing. I'm going to click that one. I'm going to say always allow this site to access your location, then done, right? Let's wait for it to fetch. As you can see, the latitude is that one and the longitude 36 point, right? So we have managed to get the user location using JavaScript, HTML and CSS, right? I think that marks the end of our tutorial. Thank you.